we are in this together.
You have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have.
That we must see. Now is the time, because it's when we all get together that we will make the changes that we must make. We are the world.
Welcome to Malcolm and We, a streaming. What we are? We're a streaming portal into a new world. Each hour we have half-hour shows. And Malcolm is a. Hold on for 1 minute. I have to turn off my phone. Malcolm is a half-hour streaming show. It's at Malcolm and We, the World. And associate Malcolm is in partners with We the World in making the world a better place. That's the best I could term it. Anyway, with Jana Larson as my co-host, and our special guest today, James Kirby, who's a photojournalist. So I understand just got involved with We the World.
Right.
Okay, and I'll let Jana explain. Jana, take over.
Well, hello, everyone. Our guest today is James Kirby. He also goes by Jim. He's a new volunteer here with We the World, and he is a photojournalist and a blogger who has been to a number of conflict zones, most recently Ukraine. And he's from the great state of Iowa. He will be helping with our Easing Trends magazine, our online publication, which is currently quarterly, but soon will be monthly. And he has a Facebook presence with his own nonprofit called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. Welcome, Jim. And suppose I could and should have said more, but I don't know you very well yet since you're a new volunteer and you're still finding your footing with us. That we give so many talents and skills, so you're going to be stretched a little thinly, perhaps, as we find more and more and more for you to do. Thank you for being here today.
I can't wait to help. I should say that the Facebook page that I use is called If I Should Die Before I Wake.
Oh. Okay.
It's part of the same prayer, but it's just a next line.
Okay.
Or so.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Actually, I want to ask you I consider myself almost for about 2 year time in New York, I was doing photojournalism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shooting with my little 35 millimeter camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that when I was the journalist, I took myself out of the picture. I mean, I could have had people shooting guns straight at me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel the danger of it. I would just want to get the right shot. Is that the way you feel in a war zone?
You know, the places I were at, I was away from the front. Probably about 12 miles. And so we could hear the battle, but we weren't like directly involved. But still, after you're in that situation for a while, I learned from the residents somewhat and some of the other journalists that they got tired of going to the bomb shelters and they got tired of running away. And they were just like, well, if it's going to hit me, it's going to hit me. So I hope it's a direct shot. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the attitude that most people had. And I think, you kind of adopt that when you're in a situation where it's, like you say, a war zone, and you're trying to tell a story at the same time, trying to deal with all the other things that are causing you anxiety, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So what do you shoot with?
I have a Canon D1 and a D6. And so, gosh, it's so hard to keep up with the new technology and whatever's coming down the line. But a good carpenter never blames his tools, as my teacher used to tell me. And so, you have what I use. I have a lot of different lenses and stuff. And so when you're in the heat of the moment, of course, it's not easy to be switching around to too much stuff. So you really have to have a lot of common sense and be prepared with what you're going to shoot and kind of anticipate what you're going to need at a certain particular time and event.
So how long were you at in our present war.
In Ukraine, I was there in June for almost a month, and then this past January for 2 weeks. And last night, if anybody was paying attention, there was a lot of bombing going on in Ukraine, and the city that I was working in, Kharkiv, had several direct hits and several people lost their lives. And so it just kind of shows you how close to the front that city is. And so, yeah, it's a difficult time for Ukraine.
Yeah. How do you get your clearance to be in those zones with?
That's a great idea. Great question. You just can't be moving around like, you have to have what you call a fixer. And so the fixer that I had was connected with the Rotary Club. And so I traveled with the Rotary Club, connected with their fixer. And so we were able to get to Kharkiv and also to a little town called Stary Saltiv, which was even closer to the front. And that's where you could really feel the presence of the war. And so I worked with the Rotary Club mostly. I was taking pictures for them, their humanitarian aid. And so that's how I was able to get close, I guess.
Do you deal mainly with?
Sorry, we're always stepping on each other.
Now, do you deal mainly with sites, or do you speak to people, or do you have a combination of?
So I get automatically connected with the people that the Rotary Club is connected with, and so obviously when you're shooting, I try to be connected with the people. I don't know the language very well, and so we're very blessed to have translators with us and the people have been very generous and very open. They understand what we're trying to do, trying to tell the story of their plight in this war zone. And so, yeah, I would hate to be one of those anonymous people that just kind of comes, click, 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 and then takes off. I don't feel that way. I have, a certain amount of empathy, and I want to get to know the people that we're trying to help and who we're telling the story for.
It seems like from the pictures that the whole country of Ukraine has been bombed to oblivion, and I mean it's just horrible. And I did see those pictures and the news that Putin is just targeting all these civilian sites all over the place, and gosh, it's got to be so scary to be there.
I don't necessarily feel like a fear. Maybe that's not very, very smart, but it's more disgust and anger when you witness things like, churches that have been destroyed and hospitals and schools and things like that. And you see the aftermath of it. And you talk to the people who are suffering the most. People who have lost loved ones, displaced people, displaced children. It's really hard to take pictures of destroyed humanitarian aid column for simply it seems like that from what I know of the situation, that the Russians just seemed like they were just doing it for fun, and it's really hard to see and take pictures of things like that.
Did you get to know any of the people very well? What did
Sure.
you feel like?
The people that were in this little town, Stary Saltiv, they came for lunch, and so they're given a hot meal. It's the people that have nowhere to go. They can't get out of town, so they're stuck. And so sitting down with some of the people with the help of our translator, it's amazing. The stories are horrible, but the resilience and the tenacity that these people have is really amazing. Little old ladies, it breaks your heart, but at the same time, you can't help but be inspired by their courage in the face of all of that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now, how do you relate this to We the World?
Well, it's a need, and it's a crisis situation where people are suffering, and I appreciate what We is trying to do for peace in the world, peace everywhere. And so by telling this story, you hopefully give people a better idea of what's at stake here. And so that constantly telling the story and showing the situation, hopefully that peace becomes a part of the discussion here. Not simply, it's not an easy answer, I'll just say that, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
That's the goal
Yeah.
anyway.
Do the Ukrainians know what they're fighting for? I mean, obviously they're fighting for.
Absolutely. Their country, they've been without cause invaded. Their people are being killed. They're being attacked for no military significance whatsoever. And they're defending their land, but they're also defending each other, the people that have lost their lives. That's what they're fighting for. Here's a sovereign state that was invaded by an aggressive and, in my own words, evil force. And so that's what they're fighting for. And they are united in ways that I can't even imagine. In some ways, a country that is just so united for one purpose and one cause.
Are they fighting against the Russians or are they fighting against Putin? Is there
Well,
separation?
It's hard to, obviously Putin is the one that's the trigger, but the Russian people seem to be going along with it. It appears that there's not a lot of opposition to this war. So they're fighting against the invading force that's in their country, and it happens to be triggered by Putin, and it happens to be caused by the Russians.
Yeah, because
well, there's such propaganda. I mean, the people in Russia aren't hearing the real story, from what I understand.
It's so easy to, I just tune it out. I know it's true. Propaganda is not just a problem here; it's a problem everywhere. But
right.
Try to rely on what the truth is, and to find out what the truth is, and show it.
I mean, if everything is controlled by the state, and the state is telling its own story or its own version of the story that it wants everyone to believe, then it's hard to know.
But that's all over the world. I mean, even in this country.
Absolutely.
I hate to get political, but you have Fox News.
Yeah, that's the reason why you need to have people in the field taking pictures and showing the reality of it, instead of letting the other loud voices tell you what it is. Show you this is really what it is.
Yeah, getting a little background. How did you start doing all this? Was this your intention when you were a teenager, or?
Well, I was involved with television, and I noticed the editing suite that you have behind you. So I worked in television for 10 years as a camera operator. And I don't know, I just kind of felt it wasn't very fulfilling after a while. And so I went back to school, and I took theology. And so I'm a pastor at a church. And so I still have this, hunger and desire to be involved with visual art, I guess you would call it. And so I transferred my television camera knowledge and experience into photography. And first, I was freelancing for athletic events, baseball, football, track and field, and things like that. And then when the war broke out, at the beginning, they were asking for photographers to come because they were afraid that the war crimes were not going to be captured. And so my instinct was, oh, I'll do that. I'll volunteer to do that. And as the war unfolded, there wasn't a need for a photographer to capture war crimes, but there were need for photographers and storytellers to tell the stories on the ground. And the Rotary Club wanted me to come, and so I was able to come and get connected with them.
Yeah. So this is your first really full-time in
yes,
sort of battle photography, or
right? Yep. Right.
Well, you said you'd been to Brazil and other conflict zones.
I worked in a school as a campus minister, and we took service trips to a place called Goiânia, Brazil. It was kind of it's for the needy people of that city on the outskirts. Where the pavement ends, the poverty begins, as they like to say. And so we started this mission trip, taking high school students and college students down there once a year. And I started it. I was there for 4 years of it, and it continues today. This was back in 2002, and so they still continue to do it today.
It seemed like you were, sorry, it seemed like you were somewhere else besides Brazil too.
Oh, okay. So we also got connected. I got connected. It's kind of a long story, but I got connected with an orphanage in Barinas, Venezuela. And so That was another place that we were going. I started going there, and I thought, well, I'll see if anybody else wants to come with me. And so it turned out to be this bigger thing than I really anticipated. And if you know the situation in Venezuela, it's really deteriorating, and so it got really difficult to travel there. You couldn't fly into Caracas easily from America. You had to go to Bogota in Colombia and then drive up, which was crossing the border. And it really wasn't a very good place, safe place to have high school, college students. So it kind of fell apart after a while because it was just too difficult.
We have a volunteer who's working with our podcast project. She has been a video editor, and now she's going to be helping more with, video and graphic for our podcast that we do. And she's in Venezuela. And from what I understand, it sounds like there's just a whole lot of scary stuff going on there too.
Yeah, the dollar is hardly worth anything. I still keep in contact with the kids that I was associated with. They're all grown up now, but they're still, struggling. Many of them are struggling with poverty. And, I tried to send them money, and it's not easy to get them money. You have to do Western Union, and then the exchange rate is not very good. And they're all trying to come to America. I try to, it's just so hard. We had one kid that was able to, she's not a kid, she's 25 years old, but she was able to, I don't know how she did it, quite honestly. I was trying to discourage, I said, it's too difficult. You have to trek through a jungle to get to where they needed to go to get to Mexico. And she was stuck in Mexico City for a long time. And then all of a sudden she's in Kansas City, Missouri, and I have no idea how she got there. But so the problem with that is now her friends, all these other kids think, oh, well, I'm going to do the same thing. Well, yeah, it's just not easy.
Yeah. And then recently there was this whole thing in Mexico City with the people, the Americans that went down there.
Right. Yeah, that's what people think.
I mean, where is it safe?
Well, parents,
how do you as a journalist, as an individual, as a minister, how do you handle the situation when everything is could be so negative at times?
Right.
Is it a faith in God, or is it a faith that something's going to happen?
Your faith comes into play, but it's really hard when everything, like you said, everything is negative. And what I tell the kids when we get together in these mission trips is, like, we can't always see the big picture. All we can do is show people a certain amount of love and grace in that particular moment, in that particular relationship, with those people that are in front of us. And that's all we can do. And if we can do that, I think that's how we are able to show a little bit of love, even briefly, to a group of people, a group of kids that are desperately looking for it.
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
I've had a show with ministers and, men of the cloth. And my always question, my wind up question is, how can you continue to believe in God, that God is good?
It's a struggle, isn't it? I mean, It really is. It's why do bad things happen to good people? And I think my answer to that is, it's just humility, knowing that I don't know the whole picture. God is God and I'm not. And so I rely on, the Paschal mystery is really kind of the defining thing. I don't want to get all theology here, but I mean, it's the crucifixion shows you that that's not the end. Death on the cross, humiliating death on the cross, is not the end. There's resurrection in some way. And so that's what you hold. You hold on to that. There's resurrection here. And so that's what we try to promote to the kids. For every Good Friday.
Well, and it's about hope, and you have to give hope, right?
Right. I mean, it'd be really easy just to give up and say, well, it's, why bother?
Why go on? You have to keep trying. And like you say, that in the moment, if there's somebody before them that is showing them that they care and came enough to, you cared enough to go there, you care enough to just be there, that's something, and it's got to give us some sort of comfort.
So So do you have any future plans of going into different areas and
I'll probably go back to Ukraine in June. I feel a need to go back there and be with my friends that I know there, people I've met through the Rotary Club and other people, original friends. It's kind of this idea of being with them in their time of trial, being in the same foxhole, so to speak. But you know, it would be easy for me to just sit here and say, "Oh, it's really too bad what's going on in Ukraine," and not do anything about it. And so I feel like I can. We took donations this last time, and as difficult as it was to travel with it, I mean, those are the kind of things that and it has a huge impact on people when they realize that, you know, there are people in the United States that really care enough to come over here and have a relationship with you. And not only that, but bring some of the things that they need.
yeah,
That's really cool. So, sorry.
did you have a
Is there-
website that people could go to either for
Yeah.
contributions or to see what you've done and
Oh, sure.
the situation there?
Yeah, I like part of my thing was to take pictures and cover, you know, who are the people that are doing the humanitarian aid, and the Rotary Club is the people that I was connected with.
Yeah.
And also another lady who I got connected with is amazing. She's like 63 years old. She's all of 4 foot tall, and she takes donations. Not just for the people that are displaced in Kyiv, where she's located, but she does it for the military too. There are a lot of volunteer, I don't know what you call them, battalions is not the right word, but there's groups of volunteer Ukrainians that are fighting, and they don't necessarily have all the access to the support that the regular military has. So she takes collections, all including flak jackets, body armor, all these things, everything except ammunition, and then she takes them to the front line. This little
Wow.
lady, and it's really amazing what she does. So it's people like that. I take pictures. And I try to tell their story too.
Yeah. How do we get in touch with you? What is your website?
My website, I have a Facebook page, which works better for me right now. It's a Facebook page is If I Should Die Before I Wake.
Okay.
And will you be writing about that in the Trends magazine too, correct?
Yeah, I certainly can. I sent an article about the playgrounds of Kharkiv and Irpin, which is a story I wrote, and I hope that it's something that people are interested in.
Well, you're going to help us keep all of that alive, so that, because I know that there's a lot of people who would love to help. So
What I'm thinking is, as I started this whole thing, MalcolmPresents.com, aside from Malcolm and we as sort of like a communications arm.
Mm-hmm.
So people, could go to Malcolm and see what's happening. What I'd love to be able to do is, since you have the film, I don't know if you could edit things together, let's say for a half hour, if you want to do the commentary, or we could arrange it and do maybe like a weekly, or maybe not a weekly show, but a bi-monthly show, or even a weekly show of a half. It could be 15 minutes. Or it doesn't have to be, a complete half-hour show, because people now do sound bites, but do like an update, just like an update of Jim Kirby.
Yeah, sure.
And we put, what I do is I put this on YouTube, and then I put it on Malcolm Presents, because YouTube has various other shows, but we do this on Malcolm Presents, and do it the world seen through the eyes of Jim Kirby.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Well, but to take a look at what we've done, and Yana has all the other information. I'd love to do something like that.
That sounds great to me.
As an ongoing project.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Well, no matter what you do, it doesn't necessarily have to be with the war. It could be, again, as we've been interviewing people, there's so many people that need so many things.
Right.
They're not only dying from bullets, but they're dying from lack of food, lack of water, lack of environment.
Yeah.
Lack of hope.
Right. There's well, I don't want to worry you with the details, but there's another group that I work at. It's called Hyper Kids of Africa, and it's this little group in Uganda that they're orphans, and so they try to raise money and awareness by their dancing groups, and they have these crazy dances.
cool because
So
I work with people in Africa with our weekend group, and we have a team in Africa. So we
yeah,
have to connect there too.
yeah, right. And so then there's another group. I just connected with them. They're a little group in Pakistan. It's an orphanage who I'm helping the leader. I send donations to them, monetary donations to them, and so that's another group.
Yay.
Yeah, as I say, if we could help with Malcolm Presents and do something on a
Sure.
again, it doesn't have to be a complete show. It could be little vignettes
Sure.
that people come
Sure.
in and you say, hi, this is Jim Kirby. This
Mhm.
week I was at, or this
Right.
week I saw, or this week I was a missionary, not a war correspondent. And
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to.
yeah,
And the kids that you still know in Brazil and Venezuela too. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be
yes.
something.
There's I have another Facebook page called Casa Agar of Iowa. And so what I did was the kids that I were with when they were little kids, like, 5, 10, 12 years old, I did updates of what they were doing, and some of them are doing very well and some of them aren't doing so well. And so that's a possibility too.
Yes, absolutely. Everything that you think of like that, we want to hear about it.
Okay.
yeah,
happy to.
it's in essence, it's a large world, but it's a small world.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
especially now with video that we could do things live. Do you do any things live?
I haven't, but I certainly could. I used to do a podcast for athletics, but that's a different story. But yeah, I could see, I'm open to the possibilities, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah.
help us.
As I say, I've been in my background more is like TV and radio, but this is the first time I've done podcasting.
Yeah, it's
or
fun.
done Zoom casting, and it's I don't need a multi-billion-dollar network behind me.
What's interesting about the COVID is they showed us how easy it is and what we're willing to tolerate. Like before on television, on news, they would never put a Zoom video on the air for the news. No one would ever use that, or a Skype. And now they use it all the time. And so it's getting easier for people.
And then we got to see people's living rooms and whatever. You remember the very beginning that was like turned into rate your background, rate your room, and then I started knowing, boy, everybody has an orchid that's thriving. How come I can't get they must be fake.
I think it had a mistake, or not a mistake, it had an effect on the news coverage that we see now, and what news coverage looks like and what they use, and
well, and how we work and how we can do things remotely, and it's just amazing what all we can do. Some things have to be there, obviously, but
I'm a believer in live TV,
right,
or live video, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we're live.
In other words, what you're seeing now is what you're seeing, even though this is not live. I mean, it could be.
Well, for us right now, but by the time everybody else sees it.
Right, but it's no editing. It's what you see is what you get. We can't say, okay, cut.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's retake scene 2.
It's pretty authentic.
And Malcolm and I interrupt each other all the time and talk over each other.
We're like the old fashioned, meet in the general store around the Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
It's changing all the time, and people are realizing you don't necessarily have to be in the same room to have those kind of conversations.
No.
Yeah, and remember how, everybody's going back to, well, not everybody, but people are going back to vinyl. They like that scratchy, scratchy sound, that, and then it went to CDs and then DVDs. And everybody says, oh, I like the vinyl.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Frying egg band, as I used to call it. Records.
DJs became multi-billionaires because it's the scratching sound.
I know it.
Into live, DJs, and these guys are constantly switching the discs and they're scratching and.
Yeah, right. It's amazing how.
What will we think of next?
Yeah, right. Well, the market will show us, I guess. And
yeah.
What will we think of next that we thought of 100 years ago?
Yeah, there you go.
Right,
going backwards. like fashion.
Mhm.
But anyway, if you believe it, our half hour is almost up.
Oh gosh,
It
this
went
has
by
been
really fast.
fun.
So if there's any contact points that you want, give your last minute pitch, Jim.
Okay, so if you can look on Facebook, If I Should Die Before I Wake is my contact for the Ukrainian experience that I've been having. And so if you go there, you can find my contact information, and that's where I'm at now, but I'm looking to expand and evolve and make things more available for people. So look for our website coming down the road.
Yeah, as I say,
Yay.
I'd love to get you together, and I'd love to get some of your shots.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Or,
You'll be able
or,
to see. I'm sorry, Malcolm.
yeah, or some of the people that you're dealing with. As you say, you see some people you've known for years, some kids.
Yes.
Talk to them, do like an interview, and we can put that on.
We have to
Your
do
Rotary
subtitles and
people,
everything.
people with here, in Iowa that you're working with, we'd
Sure.
love to hear from
But by
them.
the way,
That'd be great.
are you married, single, or?
Single.
Yeah, I would judge with your lifestyle. You better be single.
Nobody would tolerate that, would they?
Yeah, or a patient wife.
Malcolm, I was going to tell you that if you go to that Facebook page, you'll be able to see some of the photos that I've been taking in Ukraine. And then Casa Hogar of Iowa is another Facebook page where you'd be able to see that also.
Oh, good. But by the way, just for FYI, when I do my photography, I love black and white.
Oh yeah, it's great. What I found in Ukraine, I was always drawn to the playgrounds outside the bombed out buildings. And so putting black and white with a little bit of color, like a merry-go-round in color or the slide or something like that, has a big impact. And you're right, black and white really has a big impact, I think, in certain situations.
Yeah. Anyway, I thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome. My pleasure.
I look forward to doing things with you in the near future. And Yana, let's keep in contact with him. And she's my contact point.
Okay.
For everybody.
It's been my pleasure.
Anyway, thanks again. And you've been listening to Malcolm and We. And it's We the World. I keep on saying We the People, but it's We the World. And we're trying to make the world a better place, to make
We go from me to we.
to we.
Great. Excellent.
Bye. And
Bye-bye.
again, you're listening on malcolmpresents.com. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The objective of the organization We the World is to facilitate cooperation on a global scale amongst groups and individuals dedicated to implementing solutions to the many challenges we face on the planet at this time.